Hey guys, what is up? It is Out to Waz here, and I am bringing you the 2013 Best Drivers Car Competition montage, guys. I went through a little bit of effort to do this. I mean, it took me a while just to get everything set up, but I felt like it was really worth it in the end, and I had a really good time making it. I just hope you guys enjoy it. I was originally going to do some music, but I just couldn't get it to go the way I wanted it to, and so I guess without further ado, you guys are already watching it, but I guess that's not really a problem. These videos are in order from last to first, and unfortunately this SRT Viper here, it just didn't make the cut. It wasn't a very good best driver's car, great engine, but it wasn't controllable, and it didn't really have what I was looking for. Ninth place today, we have the Ford Focus. I want to say Fiesta every time. The Ford Focus ST model. Of course, you guys are thinking right now, Jonathan, where's your American love? And honestly, guys, I don't know what to tell you. Americans can't make cars, and I guess I think many people know that. But this car, obviously, it didn't have a very fair chance going up against $250,000 supercars, but it just really wasn't what I was looking for. I mean, it was fun, but it was really, really prone to oversteer, and even in Forza, I was getting torque steer. So that's good on Forza's part, but bad on the Ford Focus ST, and that's why you see it in a lonely ninth. In 8th place today, we have the BMW M6. Of course, this Bavarian monster, I was hoping it would do a little better, but on the track, it's heft really got to it, there was nothing that it could do to save itself from its own demise, I just think it was too heavy for its own good, and it didn't really help it. And on the heavy note, we're moving on to the Bentley Continental GT Supersport. This vehicle, of course, was extremely fun to try and drift around the streets of Amalfi, which was really, really funny, actually. To see it all come together is hilarious. But again, on the weight note, this car it wasn't intended to be a driver's car, so this isn't really Bentley's fault at all. It's just this car really didn't have what I was looking for, engine was great, but handling in the corners was terrible, and you felt the heft everywhere you went. Even acceleration was bogged down by the 600 horsepower W12, which is kind of sad, I guess. Coming in at 6th place here, if I remember correctly, is the Mercedes E63 AMG. This vehicle was really a good car, all around a wonderful sleeper sedan, awesome power. The grip was cool in the corners, very good. But then again, it just didn't feel very sporty, Even though it was heavy, that's not the reason why it finished here. It was just that it wasn't very sporty, I didn't feel connected, and I didn't feel like it was anything special. And I think that's why it landed at this 6th in this year's Best Drivers Competition. Coming in at 5th place was the Aston Martin DBS, and honestly, this one surprised me that it finished up so high, This vehicle's obviously a Grand Tourer at heart. It's not supposed to be an uber sporty vehicle, but the car's balance in Forza is really, really wonderful, a little bit of oversteer in the corners, but nothing too much, and I really think that's something to appreciate, is that this vehicle is always very fun to drive, and that's really, really an awesome trait from an Aston Martin. Of course, the good looks might have just sealed it 6th place over the E63, and definitely a beautiful car and one that I would recommend for your garage. 4th place this year, we have the Nissan GTR V-Spec. This vehicle is really, really a lot of fun. I'd say it had the most attainable performance qualities. It was very easy to obtain. Any average Joe could drive this car very, very fast. And I think that's something really cool about it. But that being said, it's not very connected. You don't feel connected as a driver. I feel like it's doing it itself. And that's not something that I really would want, but nonetheless a very good vehicle. 3rd place today, we have the Porsche 911. This is going to be our GT2. This vehicle's really, really awesome. Tons and tons of horsepower, good balance, but it was just way too tail-happy in the corners to make it. I mean, it was really, really good, of course, like I said, balance and acceleration, and all the performance figures, it just seemed a bit uncontrollable on the track. And what good is a driver's car if you can't drive it on the track? And I think that's why it kept it out of the top 2 tiers, and we're going to be moving on to that. And 2nd place in this year's competition is the 2013 Audi R8 V10 Plus. This vehicle, for the whole time that I was doing this, I thought was going to be the best driver's car. It just felt like I felt like it was the most balanced, and it was until a certain car came along, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But definitely a wonderful vehicle, great engine pull, all-wheel drive really keeps it in check. Transmission was great, sound was wonderful. You felt connected to this vehicle. You felt like it needed you, and you didn't, and you need it as well. So it's a good friendship, I'd say. Very, very quick vehicle. And you guys are seeing it right here. The winner of this year's 2013 Best Drivers competition is the Mercedes SLS AMG Black Series. This car came out of nowhere. I almost forgot to test it. The last two vehicles that I did, the E63 and the SLS, I realized that they had done it for this year's Motor Trend competition, but I forgot that I had those vehicles. And this vehicle just came out of nowhere. I really was not expecting it to do so wonderful. This car was just powerful on the straights. It was beautiful in the corners. It was balanced. It shifted quickly. The brakes were phenomenal. Suspension soaked up the bumps. It didn't want to understeer, but then again, it didn't want to throw you into some snap oversteer. And you know what? These are all just wonderful things that I think really did seal its position in this year's drivers competition. And I just want to say thank you guys for watching these videos with me, giving me some good feedback of what I can do better. I really enjoyed this. Driving some of the world's best vehicles around Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca was just really some fun, and I think it was something that I truly enjoyed doing. I hope you guys enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed doing it, because if you guys even got a fraction of how much I did, you guys would be loving this video. Or loving the other videos, of course. And this here is just a compilation. I brought to you some bits and pieces of each of the competitors at, I think, some of their home tracks. I did most of them, I think all of them, at tracks that were there. Some funny facts: we had 5 German cars this year, so they were really dominating the field, and they all finished really well. I found that kind of odd. I didn't mean to do that. It was just how they competed this year. No Italian cars, which is a bit sad, but having the 458, maybe we'll do that again yet. We'll do it next year, to add that into this year's competition, but for now we don't have it. But of course we had our 2 American vehicles, and they finished in both of the last places. They just didn't feel suitable, and I think the car that I was most disappointed with was the SRT Viper. It came into this year with a huge refresh. They spent tons of time trying to work on it, and still it just came out too raw. It's not a driver's car. It's a car for Chuck Norris. If Chuck Norris were to drive a vehicle, he would drive an SRT Viper, because I'm fairly certain he's the only one that can ever contain this vehicle. And I just don't think that's something that I would really want inside a vehicle, and I don't think it was really worthy of this spot. One of the cars that I found that was the most fun to drive was the Porsche 911. It was so tail happy, and if you got it right, it was super satisfying, but you had to be feathering the throttle up into 4th gear, and that was difficult, but it was definitely a lot of fun. And I guess those are my 2 awards that I'm going to hand out. Of course, this year's winner, again, the SLS AMG Black Series. It was just a wonderful vehicle, guys. I can't just recommend this vehicle enough. Do the same modifications I did for you guys' Forza garage, and maybe you guys are going to enjoy this as much as I did. And that being said, in the next couple of days, I'm hoping to bring you the F1's Backwards Challenge, guys. That's right. It's going to be here. I'm going to do qualifying, then race, then qualifying, then race every other day. And I guess that finishes it up. Subscribe, like, comment, and you guys have an awesome day. Later.